Hi, everyone. Welcome to our special Facebook Live today. My name is Summer Feng. I'm the IDP Australasia Assistant Destination Manager based in Melbourne. With me today, we've got Alice Guan, who is our Destination Migration Manager, and also Dr. Daniel Marsh, our IELTS Business Development Specialist. So today we have some crucial updates regarding the federal budget that every student must know about. So these topics cover what are the impact for international students as an overall picture, and then what are the skilled employer or the employer sponsorship visa update, as well as the regional and state nomination. So please stay tuned, and now let's dive straight into it. Alice, our first topic for discussion today is that what are the updates for the federal migration budget planning and what are the quota for the next financial year? Can you give us a little bit information about that?
Sure, Summer. So it's very exciting night. Last night, the federal government announced migration program planning level for next financial year, which starting 1st of July. So this will be set at 185,000 places. The permanent migration program is aiming to address the skill shortages in priority sector and prioritize visa processing for regional Australia. And once again, the key focus next year will primarily be on skilled visas, which will receive 71 of those places, 71% of those allocated places, and with remaining 29% allocated to family stream.
Yeah, that's amazing to know. And Alice, since you mentioned that the government is aiming to fulfill the workforce in Australia and also encouraging the students to go to regional areas. So in terms of the employer sponsorship visa, we hear that there's some changes which has a positive impact to those who are looking for the PR pathway. So for example, we know that previously for skilled workers nominated by employers, they need to work for for their employer for 2 years to be able to apply for the PR. So now with the federal budget update, so what are the positive changes to the employees?
So the key changes more relevant to our student, I think, is the reduced duration for work experience requirement to apply for a temporary employer-sponsored visa. So from later this year, the government will reduce the work experience requirement for temporary skill shortage visa, which is 482. It's not a permanent visa, but it's still a skilled work visa sponsored by employer in Australia. So in the current setting, the requirement will be 2 years, which means if an international student want to be sponsored, they have to work for 2 years in Australia before they got sponsorship. But now they only need to work for 1 year in that position before the employer can sponsor them. So which is a big change. And the other change is the government has really focusing on this area as well, because it has increased the planning level for the permanent one. So the permanent employer sponsored, which is 186 visa, they increased the number from 36,000 for in the current financial year to 44,000 for next financial year. So this adjustment is to build on expanded pathway to permanent resident introduced last November, enable a great portion of these temporary migrant who has been sponsored on 482 visa to transit to permanent residence. So that's, after all, it's really good news for people who are working for Australian business.
Yeah, I'm actually quite excited to hear about this positive update. And yeah, because that will definitely benefit those students who have been already working with the employers for a time. Then now, as the government changing the update, then that will reduce to 2 years and then from 2 years to 1 year. So which is really amazing and it's positive for the students. So yeah, which is good news. Okay, so the next topic is about the regional and state nomination, Alice. So we can see that the government has been encouraging students and the labor workforce to move and support the regional area development for over couples of years, since the COVID time and also after COVID as well. So is it still the same value proposition from the government and what are the updates from them?
So there are three visa subclass in this area. So the planning level for state and territory nominated 190 visa has been increased to 33,000 places, while the planning level for regional stream, which include both 491 visa as well as the regional employer-sponsored 494 visas, have been set at 33,000 as well for next financial year. So you can see these three visa subclass all involved in state-sponsored or regional-sponsored or regional employer-sponsored combined together accounts to 50% of the skilled visa allocation. So that's a big chunk of the quota goes to there. And I think the increasing in planning level for state and territory nominated and the regional category will empower the state government to attract the skilled migrant to address the specific economic need and the labor force challenges in this area, as well as retain the international student who graduate in those states and who has trained by an Australian university and the institution who later joined the Australian workforce after graduation to remain in that state. Additionally, I think the increase in regional category planning level will also help support the population retention and the economic growth in regional Australia.
Yep, that's really amazing to hear. And you mentioned that these are the three visa subclasses that involve the regional sponsor counts actually like 50%. So it's a huge number. And I can see that the Australian government now is focusing more on the job market in the regional area. And then, of course, that they also focusing on the course offering in the regional areas as well, and then whether they can provide some internship and job opportunities over there. So we can see that the government is actually quite still encouraging the students to move to the regional area and help with the workforce. That's amazing to hear.
Quite important as well, because when we think about the state and territory nominated visa and we looking at the current setting of the state government, they are quite keen on higher language capacity, which means if a candidate who are working, let's say in Victoria or New South Wales, the better their English language skills are, the better the easier they got the selection. So which means for our potential candidates or international student, the language is really important and you need to hone your English skills while you are in Australia. And IELTS is quite important as well. So then that's why we have Daniel here.
Yeah, yeah. So that's what we also mentioned. That I'm glad that Alice, you also, mentioned about the English language requirements increase, recently for the update, and that's why, and that's here the reason that, yeah, we would like to also invite our IELTS colleague, Daniel, to talk about more about the English language requirements and what you guys need to prepare. So, Daniel, as Alice already mentioned, that the English requirements for the employer sponsorship visa increases, and also the independent skilled migration quota decreases, and the state nomination visa now is requesting on the high English language proficiencies. So with all those government's English language changes, which indicate that the high English language proficiency is essential for Australia to gain a high quality migrants and workforce. So are there any tips and perspective that you would like to share with our students so that they can prepare and equip themselves as soon as possible?
Yeah, absolutely. So with IELTS, we have many features to our test to offer people flexibility in how they do their test, but we also offer a lot of free resources as well to help people prepare for their IELTS exam as well. So whether they're applying for just migration purposes or to study or to register with a professional organization, people can take IELTS knowing that they have flexibility in being able to achieve the results that they need. So having a look at, let me just go, oh, 1 second. Yeah. So having a look at the current changes in English language requirements for study visas, each category has gone up usually by about half a band. So the student visa now requires a minimum of 6 overall in IELTS. For those who are taking an ELICOS course before their main program, they now need a 5. For university and foundation pathway programs, you need a minimum 5.5. And for the temporary graduate visa, it's been increased to 6.5 for IELTS as well. Now, for the student visa, the ELICOS programs for full study and the university and foundation programs, it's really important to know that IELTS One Skill Retake is an option for you. But if you are applying for the temporary graduate visa this year or sometime soon, IELTS One Skill Retake unfortunately isn't an option for this visa. So please keep that in mind when booking your test and preparing for the test as well. So there's a lot of different types of English language tests that people can take, but I think there are a lot of benefits to choosing IELTS over other tests. So a great benefit of IELTS is that we have a face-to-face speaking test. So instead of just talking to a computer or just purely writing things down and answering questions, you have the opportunity to prove your English language skills in the most natural way possible with a conversation with an examiner. And I think this is the most accurate and most reliable way of identifying someone's English language proficiency. And because of the way that we do our testing, IELTS is the most trusted English language test globally. So the Australian government trusts it, but it's also trusted by other governments around the world. And that's not going to be changing anytime soon. Another great benefit of doing IELTS is that IDP provides online resources as well as in-person masterclasses to help you prepare for your test as well. And we also give you that support and flexibility with IELTS One Skill Retake. So in tests where you have to take 4 skills, if you miss out on just 1 skill, you may have to take the entire test again. However, now with IELTS One Skill Retake, for many visas and programs, you now can do a full test and retake just 1 skill if you've missed out on just one part of your IELTS results. We also make it really easy and convenient for you to access IELTS resources as well. So we have an IELTS by IDP app. So if you are planning on taking IELTS soon, I really encourage you to download it. You can book your IELTS test through the app as well. You can also access our podcast and other free resources as well. And you can also get a notification on your phone as soon as you get your IELTS results in and check them on your phone. Of course, however, we also are very active on social media as well. So if you were looking for other resources by IDP IELTS, we also have a YouTube channel, an Instagram, and also a Facebook account. And we regularly update these pages and we help give you tips and guidance about what happens during the test, what to expect during the test, and we might even give you some fun new vocabulary and expressions for you to practice in your everyday life and to prepare you for your test later on so you can have a more natural way of speaking English. So if you're currently in Australia or you're near an IDP IELTS test centre, you can scan the QR code or just follow the website ielts.com.au/events. We're always having events around Australia at our test centres, especially our IELTS masterclasses. So you can come along and learn from a real life examiner what the test is like, and they can give you tips in person as well. You can ask any questions that you want about the test, and we'll be happy to answer them for you. And this is all free, of course. So there's 3 main ways that you can take IELTS. So there's IELTS on paper, IELTS on computer, and IELTS online. There's benefits to each of them. However, you should be aware of their differences as well. So IELTS on paper and IELTS on computer are both accepted for migration purposes. However, IELTS online isn't accepted for migration purposes. So if you're applying for any of these student visas, please keep in mind, do not apply for IELTS online. Please either apply for IELTS on paper or IELTS on computer. Another key difference is IELTS One Skill Retake is currently only available for computer. So if you would like to take an IELTS One Skill Retake, make sure that your first test is on computer. If your first test is on paper, we unfortunately can't give you the option to do IELTS One Skill Retake at this time. So if IELTS One Skill Retake is something that you're interested in, make sure that you book your first test on computer. So there are two main ways that you can take IELTS, two different IELTS tests that you can take. There's IELTS Academic and IELTS General Training. Some people ask us, what is the difference between these two? So with these two tests, the speaking parts are the same. The listening is the same. The only difference between academic and general training is the reading and the writing. So for listening and speaking, you can prepare the exact same way for both of those tests. However, for reading and writing, those sections are different as well. Now, you might be wondering which test you need to take and prepare for. And that really depends on what you're applying for. So if you're applying for a university and anything for the bachelor degree level or above, we strongly recommend taking the IELTS academic test. And for any TAFE courses or VET courses where it may be at the diploma level or below the bachelor level, we recommend that you take the general training. However, general training is also accepted for many other visa subclasses as well. Our best advice to give you is to check the website of the organization that you're applying to and check which IELTS test that they accept. Another thing to consider is how long the IELTS results take to get back. So for IELTS on paper, it can take you up to 13 days. However, with IELTS on computer, it will only take 2 to 5 days for you to get your test results back. So if you need your results back as soon as possible to put in your application for the temporary graduate visa or any other visa, IELTS on computer might be the best decision for you. However, if paper is still your preference, you can still book that, but please keep in mind that the results from IELTS on paper do take longer to get back than IELTS on computer. So this is my favorite thing about IELTS at the moment is the IELTS One Skill Retake. So I think it's a really great feature of IELTS, and I think it's a major advantage over other major tests that people may be thinking about taking. So with IELTS One Skill Retake, you can retake one section of your full IELTS test. So say you do you're listening, speaking, reading, or writing, and then maybe you just miss out on just your writing. You will have the option to retake that and improve your score, and you'll be able to apply to the organization that you need to, whether it be a university or TAFE, or even a professional organization to register. As I said again, it's only available for IELTS on computer. So if you are really interested in doing IELTS because you want to do IELTS One Skill Retake, make sure that you book your first test for IELTS on computer. It's currently not available for IELTS on paper. Another thing to consider is that there is a time period for how long you can wait till you do your One Skill Retake. So you have 60 days from your original test to rebook your IELTS One Skill Retake. So that's really important to keep in mind. So make sure that you don't leave it any longer than that. So let me give you an example of how IELTS One Skill Retake works, right? So let's imagine Jane is applying to the Bachelor of Arts at the University of Sydney. So to get into the Bachelor of Arts at the University of Sydney, Jane will need an IELTS score of 6.5 with no score below 6. So Jane does her IELTS test, and Jane, like many people, they do really well in their test. But as you can see in her writing test, she has just missed out on her requirements. So she's gotten 6.5 for listening, 6.5 for reading, but only 5.5 for writing, and then 6.5 for speaking. So Jane might decide to do a One Skill Retake. So when you do a One Skill Retake, you will get a brand new test report form as well. So when you do an IELTS One Skill Retake, you will get an extra test report form. So you'll have one for your original test and one for your IELTS One Skill Retake. And as you can see in this example, Jane is able to increase her writing score and you can see that this is an IELTS One Skill Retake because writing retake has been labeled here. Some people do have questions about who accepts IELTS One Skill Retake. And another major benefit of One Skill Retake is that the majority of universities and TAFEs and professional organizations in Australia now accept IELTS One Skill Retake, including 5 of the 8 GO8 universities. So if you want to study somewhere like the University of Sydney, UNSW, Monash, the University of Queensland, or the University of Western Australia, you can do an IELTS One Skill Retake and apply to those organizations. If you are curious about whether your preferred university or TAFE provider accepts IELTS One Skill Retake, make sure that you check on their websites and in their English language requirements whether they accept IELTS One Skill Retake. So your next steps, of course, if you need to apply for your temporary graduate visa, make sure that you book as soon as possible. You know, as there are more limited spaces for visas, especially for student visas at the moment, you may want to get your application in sooner rather than later. However, make sure that you check our preparation resources at ielts.com.au/prepare. You can also join our global community by following us on Facebook. You can go to our website and access free practice mock tests as well. We also have free preparation materials. On top of Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook, we also have a TikTok account as well where we post videos if you would like to follow us there. And of course, you can follow us on YouTube for more tips as well. And with that, I'll hand that back to you, Summer and Alice. But let me know if you have any more questions about IELTS and how it relates to the visa changes.
Yeah, thank you so much, Daniel. Yeah, so I think that's really great to hear that OSR One Skill Retake is available for the visa, for some of the visa. Alice may add any information later on, and then also it's available, you know, so student, if you want to submit that visa as soon as possible, so please book the IELTS as well. All right, so the last question is for Alice. So it's almost the exam period for all our students now, as you know. So after the students' exam, it will be a crucial timing for them to get prepared for the next step and also the next journey, particularly getting the 485 visa and also gain some work experience as well. So there's some changes for the 485 visa, which effective on the 1st of July. So Alice, from the visa perspective, is there anything that the student need to be mindful when they apply for the 485 visa?
So there are 2 key changes from 1st of July for 485 visa. So the first one is the age limit will drop. The second one, even you are not affected by the age, but if you be able to complete your exam, final exam before July, we still recommend you to apply this visa as soon as possible. The reason is the 485 visa duration will also change. So if you are sitting there and just apply after July, then you will receive a shorter visa, most likely. And please also be mindful because the English language requirement for temporary graduate visa already changed a few weeks back. So the minimum requirement for temporary graduate visa for an IELTS increased from 6 to 6.5, but that's not all the change. They also changed the test validity window, which means if you want to use your old IELTS report to apply for this temporary graduate visa will not be applicable because the test validity has changed from 3 years to 1 year, which means basically if you're using your language report to apply for university, which should be already expired, and basically everyone needs to redo the test. Since this is very time sensitive, so I know everyone is preparing for the exam, but still need to remember you also need to do this one last English test to apply for this temporary graduate visa. If you can make it before July, that will be largely benefit for you. So student, please remember to prepare and use all the resources that Daniel mentioned and list it on our website and prepare your English test.
Yeah, amazing. So I totally agree with you, Alice. So I think that two main things the student need to be aware. First is that you need to prepare all the documents, and even though you haven't got the academic transcript, but feel free to contact our registered IDP registered migration agent to guide you more how to prepare the documents and how to submit the application. And also the second thing is that for the English language requirements, as Alice already mentioned, that it's actually increasing from 6 to 6.5 now. And also the English result will valid to 2 years, to 1 year now. So it's valid to 1 year. So which is, if you're taking, 1 year ago, it's already expired. So you need to book the IELTS as soon as possible. All right, so just be mindful about the time. So I understand that the process might be complicated. And if you're not sure, please find a trustworthy agents like IDP to guide you through the process. And to provide you with the personalized guidance, we are offering one-on-one consultation sessions with our experienced registered migration agents and education counselors. And our IELTS offer one skill retake as well, if you want to submit a visa application. So overall, our services are designed to address your specific questions and concerns, ensuring that you have the support and information that you need to navigate the visa and education process successfully. So thank you very much, Alice and Daniel, today. And thank you everyone for joining us. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us directly. So for more information about how to contact us, please see the registration link given below in our comment section. So we hope this session is helpful to you, and we look forward to seeing you soon if we have any more updates. So everyone, bye for now. Thanks, Alice and Daniel.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.